Irashaimase! Hello and welcome to Fataris' Kitchen. I'm your host, Chef Fataris. It's time once again for Shoot 'em Up Saturday, and on the menu this week, we're celebrating Shoot 'em Up Saturday's 10th anniversary. So settle in and let's get cooking. Shoot 'em Up Saturday's journey began on November 8th, 2014. The first episode featured the PlayStation classic Einhander. This is one that if you haven't had the chance to play, I highly encourage you do so, as it's a truly excellent title that I think any shoot 'em up fan should at least experience. It is still available for purchase on the Japanese PSN for the PlayStation 3, which does make it a bit awkward, but that's something to keep in mind. Ever since my childhood, one of my favorite genres of video games has been shoot 'em ups. So when I wanted to start a YouTube series that was weekly, I decided to go and cover that fairly obscure, and I still feel this is definitely the case, like genre. Although back in 2014 it felt like it was kind of a dying or even a dead genre, thanks to several things that have happened in the intervening years, I feel like shoot 'em ups are alive and well. So we'll cover that as we kind of move forward. But that was kind of the idea. I wanted to start a weekly YouTube series, and shoot 'em ups are a great place to start. And with that, Einhander was a great place to begin, as I feel like this is one that is a bizarre and awesome title from a developer that you wouldn't expect this kind of a game from. So releasing in the mid-90s from Square, a shoot 'em up is not what you would expect, and it's truly one of the excellent titles for the system. So if you're not familiar with this one, the basic idea is that you're a daredevil pilot from the moon attacking Earth, and the main mechanic behind it is you're only equipped with a rather weak cannon, but you can collect the weapons of the enemies you defeat, and throughout all those various stages, you're picking up these weapons and defeating ever more awesome bosses. It also has an incredible soundtrack, so definitely, like I said at the beginning, if you haven't had the chance to check this one out, you owe yourself as a shoot 'em up fan to do so. So in the beginning, I never thought that Shoot 'em Up Saturday would last for 10 years. I figured I would be covering shoot 'em ups for a couple years, maybe like a few at most, and then I would cover all the ones that I was interested in making videos about, and that would ultimately be the end of it. But much to my surprise, the genre was not dead, and not only would we see regular re-releases of titles for years to come, but we'd also see a lot of really new titles. So it gives me a chance to celebrate titles like Einhander and also a lot of new titles. So some of the things that have helped that survive are things like Hamster's Arcade Archive series, which also began the same year I started Shoot 'em Up Saturday. So if you're not familiar with the Arcade Archives, it's a collection of arcade titles that have been emulated on modern platforms, specifically the Nintendo Switch, the PlayStation 4, and then some on the Xbox as well as the PC. One of the things I love about Hamster's Arcade Archives is it takes these classic arcade titles, a lot of which people wouldn't have had the chance to play even back in the arcade, and puts them on modern platforms, making them accessible to all. The first arcade archive I covered was Alpha Mission 2 on the PlayStation 4. Since that first arcade archive title, I've covered dozens of shoot 'em ups from the arcade archives, and moving forward, there'll definitely be quite a few more that I'll also be putting time into, as there's titles they've announced that I'm really looking forward to, and several even from the earliest days of the arcade archives that I still haven't had the chance to play. And along the lines of their mission, it kind of meshes what I've always wanted to do. One of the goals of Shoot 'em Up Saturday is to expand the knowledge and just the general awareness of the genre for everybody out there, both on YouTube and just those that potentially might come across my videos while just searching something about a particular title. So having access to classic arcade titles really does mesh with that. Another company I felt has done an excellent job of bringing shoot 'em ups to a wider audience is M2, both through their excellent emulator work for other companies and specifically their M2 Shot Trigger series, of which Battle Gaga here is one of. If you're not familiar with the Shot Trigger series, basically M2 takes standout shoot 'em ups from companies like Cave and Rising, gives them an excellent port loaded with new modes, new music, and all these gadgets to give you additional information about the game. Basically, it's the best port you can possibly expect for a shoot 'em up. A lot of them have been released both internationally as well as just in Japan, but unfortunately some of their more recent efforts on the Nintendo Switch in particular are Japanese only. Fortunately, it is fairly easy to import those titles, both physically or if you want to pick them up digitally as well. So one of the things I like about the whole M2 Shot Trigger series is just how accessible it makes it for not just the hardcore shoot 'em up fan, but for even your more casual fan of the genre as well. As the games usually have these super easy modes, which are more forgiving than some of these difficult bullet hells that they do port can be. So really, if you get the chance to play any of the shot triggers, regardless of the ones that you pick up, like Battle Gaga or Ketsui, or some of the more recent ones they've done, like the Dodonpachis and other cave shoot 'em ups on the Switch, then I highly encourage you to try those out, both if you're like looking for something different or if you're just trying to improve your gameplay on the particular shoot 'em ups, as the scorings are usually pretty in depth on those, and you can see from the graphics here that they have a lot of information that would help you learn the game systems. As much as I've enjoyed exploring and showcasing the classic shoot 'em ups, one of the things I've enjoyed the most with Shoot 'em Up Saturday has been discovering and showcasing indie shoot 'em ups. So when I first started, one of the reasons I thought the series would only last a few years is there weren't a whole lot of new shoot 'em ups releasing at the time. But after that point, self-publishing exploded and we started seeing a whole lot of new titles both in the shoot 'em up genre and just straight up across the board, releasing on the Xbox 360, on Steam, and then on the PlayStation and the Nintendo Switch. Then those would come later. So we have great titles releasing that bring a lot of awesome, innovative, creative ideas to the genre, like Steriden. So over the last 10 years, Steriden is definitely one of my most played shoot 'em ups. As I was saying, indies can bring a lot of unique and interesting ideas to the genre, and with this one, you have great implementation of procedural generation of the stages, as well as a roguelike element which just keeps the game always entertaining. So you want to come back to it time and time again. So you would have a run where sometimes you'll get something like, say, the flamethrower, which is really awesome. Also different bosses coming up, and then you have the addition of multiple ships and multiplayer later on throughout the course of the game's runtime. It's really one that if you haven't played this one, I recommend you pick it up as finds itself on sale fairly frequently, and give this one a try. But it does go and highlight just the creativity and just the depth that you can get of the genre with the whole indie scene, not just with like a roguelite shoot 'em up, but others as well. So you have a lot to look forward to, both from smaller developers and some that are a little bit on the larger side as well. The quality might vary a little bit, but overall, it's one of the things I've enjoyed the most about Shoot 'em Up Saturday is discovering titles like this one. But even more so than a title like Steriden, the one I've put the most time into as far as shoot 'em ups is Enter the Gungeon. Enter the Gungeon is a procedurally generated roguelite, this time top down. So it's been one of my most played shoot 'em ups over the last 10 years because it's just, well, so much fun to go and play in 2-player. Not just that, but the game has had tons of updates, lots of depth and added to it. I just love the whole combat and just the unique element of humor that it has, with all your weapons being these ridiculous guns, all that thrown in there. But the whole thing that this one helps highlight is just how much shoot 'em ups can evolve and where the genre both has come and where it's going. So even though it's been one that was fairly static back in the day. You would always have ones that you say were a space shooter or whatnot. Now you have titles that, like this one, which just shows so much creativity, depth, and can keep a pair of gamers going for really like hundreds of hours. And for a title that you might really enjoy, I could understand that as well, but this one here is just fun every single time you play it. And ultimately, when it comes to shoot 'em ups or any other game that you're playing, isn't that what we're here for? Is to experience and have a fun time. So sometimes runs will be heartbreakers. You won't be able to make it all the way to the end for a game like this. Other times you'll just become so ultra powerful, it's just incredibly satisfying to experience. And for a game like this, that's one of the things that I come back to time and time again. Completing literally hundreds of runs, this game will always go and be one of my favorite shoot 'em ups that we've ever played. Another title that's done a lot to bring innovation to the shoot 'em up genre is Vampire Survivors. It has all these unique, interesting ideas that have definitely captured the imagination of players and developers, and we're still seeing games that follow and copy ideas from it released to this day, a couple years later. It's also one that initially started out as a title that you might have easily written off, but it's become its own entity where you have all these DLCs releasing, including some that even go back to the original source material. So it started out kind of as a parody of Castlevania, and now we actually have official Castlevania DLC for it. It's kind of weird how the world can work that way. But it's a great example of the kind of innovation that can still exist in a space where at least I personally thought we'd kind of seen what the basic genre was. So I love seeing indies like Vampire Survivors come and change things up. This might not be everybody's jam, but it's a lot of fun to just sit down and play. And it also, like Gungeon, is for me personally, one of the things that really makes it special is that it's also a great co-op experience. So with all that said, the future of shoot 'em ups is definitely bright, and along with it, I'll definitely keep on making shoot 'em up Saturday episodes as long as we keep on having great shoot 'em ups that I haven't played before or that are even coming out. Like this year alone, we have great examples of titles like Angel at Dusk that have released, which just has, once again, that unique element of roguelike thrown in there with a bit of bullet hell and its own unique graphical flair. Then you have titles like that just are a bit more orthodox in the way that they approach things, but are just done so excellently both from a graphical standpoint as well as a design standpoint, like Devil Blade Reboot. And also some that take difficult genres in the subgenres in the genre, such as bullet hells, and makes them accessible to everybody, like Redneck All Stars. All these titles definitely help me have hope that the genre is going to continue to be strong and develop for years and years to come. And so ultimately, what I really want to go and say throughout the whole course of this rambling video is I just want to thank you so much for joining me on this 10-year journey for Shoot 'em Up Saturday. And really, I'm looking forward to having your support and your viewership throughout, well, however many other years you want to stick around. Hopefully another 10, maybe longer. So with all that said, that brings us to the end of this week's episode of Shoot 'em Up Saturday. So I want to thank you so much for joining us. We hope you have a wonderful week yourself, and we look forward to seeing you again next time.